Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to the spring campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game for 2025. As I've mentioned in a couple of places, I think I mentioned it at the end of Sunday's video on Sunday, and I mentioned it during Pino with Phoenix. We are going to be doing Edge of the Earth this year for this year's spring campaign. We're going on an Antarctic adventure this year. So in this video, we're going to have the campaign intro. It's going to be a little bit longer than normal because there's a lot going on in this campaign intro. We'll have the tarot reading for the first scenario. Well, actually, we're going to meet the investigators, then we'll go through the intro, then we'll have the tarot reading for the first scenario, and then we'll wrap the video up. So first up, let's tab into TTS, where we're going to meet our investigators. First up, we've got our Cloovers set up that will come over here and meet. We're looking at Minty Fan, the Secretary. 4 will, 4 lore, 2 combat, 2 agility. She's the assistant. Her special ability, after an investigator at your location commits a card to a skill test, that card gains a question mark icon, a wild card, until the end of the test. Limit once for each investigator per round. Elder Sign, +1. You may choose a skill card committed to this skill test to return to its owner's hand after this test ends. You can depend on me to guide you through the unknown. 7 health and 7 sanity. Then looking at the back, we see her deck size is 30. Deck building options, Seeker cards level 0 to 5, Neutral 0 to 5, Survivor series 0 to 2. Deck building requirements that don't count toward deck size, Analytical Mind, The King in Yellow Act 1, and 1 random basic weakness. Min never quite felt like she belonged in America. Things were even harder for her family before they moved, being Vietnamese and Korea under Japanese rule. She worked hard to get her college degree, reminding herself that her parents had sacrificed much to come to the States. Finally, her father became acquainted with a man from Arkham, Mr. Thomas, who offered Min a job at his office. He was kind to her at first, but then he started reading The King in Yellow, and his demeanor changed completely. He'd lent it to Min, but she dared not read past the first act. 3 weeks later, Mr. Thomas was found dead, having taken his own life, and The King in Yellow is the key to the truth. So let's take a look at her special cards. Her signature asset is Analytical Mind, Between the Lines. 2 question marks on commit. Minty Fan deck only. You may commit 1 card to each skill test performed by an investigator at another location. Reaction: after you commit exactly 1 card to a skill test, exhaust Analytical Mind to draw 1 card. So in theory, we can use this to commit from anywhere, but her signature weakness, we'll put paid to that real quick. Her signature weakness is The King in Yellow Act 1. Revelation: put The King in Yellow into play in your threat area. It can't leave play except through the reaction ability below. You can't commit exactly 1 or 2 cards to a skill test. And as a reaction, after a skill test is successful, in which Min committed at least 6 matching skill icons for that test, discard The King in Yellow. So basically, we'd have to commit 6. This kind of ranks as drop everything and deal with it if you can. So ideally, you'll be drawing through her deck to get a lot of cards to be able to commit to deal with this. But of course, drawing through the deck means we're probably going to get it a lot quicker. So we have to be very careful about that. Next, let's go meet our Monster Puncher. We're taking out Mark Harrigan, the Soldier. 3 will, 2 lore, 5 combat, 3 agility. You begin the game with Sophie and Loving Memory in play. Reaction: after damage is placed on a card you control, draw 1 card. Limit once per phase, and your investigator card does count for that effect. Elder Sign effect: +1 for each damage on Mark. He'd burn the entire town down if necessary, but he wouldn't let those monsters take anyone else. 9 health, 5 sanity. Deck size is also 30. His deck building options are a little bit screwy. Guardian cards level 0 to 5, Neutral 0 to 5, Tactic cards level 0. Deck building requirements that also don't count. The home front, Shell Shock, Sophie, 1 random basic weakness. There were plenty who returned from the war broken in body or spirit, but Mark Harrigan had witnessed horrors he could not explain. His beloved Sophie believed him when he wrote her about the things he saw, not the men killing other men, but the other things, the creatures. When he came home and went to visit her, he found the reasons she believed him. She had one of the creatures inside her, eating her from the inside out. As he watched in helpless horror, she faded away into the air, screaming as the thing finished its meal. Now everyone thinks Mark Harrigan is crazy. Maybe he's finally lost it after all, but he knows the monsters are real, and he will not rest until every last one is dead. His signature cards, we've got the home front, 4 combat on commit. If this skill test is successful during an attack, move 1 damage from Mark Harrigan to the attacked enemy. And Sophie in Loving Memory, can't leave play. As a reaction, as a fast action, take 1 direct damage. You get +2 to your skill value for this skill test. Forced, if Mark has 5 or more damage on him, flip Sophie. Then we flip Sophie into It Was All My Fault. Sophie can't leave play. You get -1 to each of your skills. And a forced, if Mark Harrigan has 4 or less damage on him, flip Sophie. Then his other signature weakness is Shell Shock. It's a flaw. Revelation, for every 2 damage on you, take 1 horror. War never changes. Well, let's hope it does change at some point, but I don't think it ever will. Anyway, we've got quite a bit to go through an intro here, so let's go ahead and once I get this all adjusted, let's go ahead and start setting the intro and start with the intro.
Edge of the Earth, Prologue. I am forced into speech because men of science have refused to follow my...
There should be an extra quote in here. Let me see if I can find that. We will be coming back to the intro proper, which... Okay, that's pretty quick, thankfully. Epilogue intro. That's not where we want to be. I thought I recorded the extra little quote in here. That's what I'm looking for right now. Apparently I didn't, so I'll just go ahead and read that. That seething, half-luminous cloud background held ineffable suggestions of a vague, ethereal beyondness, far more than terrestrially spatial, and gave appalling reminders of the utter remoteness, separateness, desolation, and aeon-long death of this untrodden and unfathomed austral world. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. So now we can go through the campaign intro proper. And again, it's going to be a long one, so bear with me while we set all the scene for this.
Without knowing why. It is altogether against my will that I tell my reasons for opposing this contemplated invasion of the Antarctic, with its vast fossil hunt and its wholesale boring and melting of the ancient ice cap, and I am the more reluctant because my warning may be in vain. Doubt of the real facts, as I must reveal them, is inevitable. Yet if I suppressed what will seem extravagant and incredible, there would be nothing left. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. Edge of the Earth.
Okay. So, did it go through giving us the choices here? Hang on. Something's not right.
Suppressed what will seem extravagant and incredible, there would be nothing left. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness.
I think that was the quote. Okay, never mind.
Prologue 2. Dyer lets out an anxious...
Wait a second. Did I not record that? I might not have. Prologue.
Edge of the Earth, Prologue. I am forced into speech
because
men of science have refused to follow
backwards.
my advice without knowing why. It is altogether against my will that I tell my reasons for opposing this contemplated invasion of the Antarctic, with its vast fossil hunt and its wholesale boring and melting of the ancient ice cap, and I am the more reluctant because my warning may be in vain. Doubt of the real facts, as I must reveal them, is inevitable. Yet if I suppressed what will seem extravagant and incredible, there would be nothing left. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness.
Okay.
Prologue 1. You understand now,
Oh,
yes?
never mind. Here we
Why
go.
this expedition must be stopped? Professor William Dyer sits across from you at his office desk. A wealth of academic papers and scientific journals lies sprawled between you, including Dyer's own lengthy account of his journey to the Antarctic, up until the publication of this revised report, the alleged truth. The university's last expedition to Antarctica yielded very little in the way of scientific discoveries. At Dyer's request, you'd read through this new report of what really happened beyond those mountains of madness, as he had dubbed them. You scarcely would have believed any of it were it not for the bevy of photographs and drawings that came along with it. Evidence of mangled, dissected bodies, of perplexing five-pointed snow graves, of strange specimens found half buried in the ice, and finally, aerial shots of the jagged black peaks described in Dyer's tale. Dyer has called on you to help convince his colleagues to abandon their planned follow-up expedition. His student, Danforth, the only other member of the expedition to reach the alien stone city described in Dyer's report, paces back and forth by the entrance to Dyer's office, muttering nonsensically to himself while you consider their strange tale. You're still unsure what to make of all this. On the one hand, Dyer's concern seems genuine, and his account is filled with such detail and specificity that you find it difficult to doubt its authenticity. And yet, there's no way it could all be true. An ancient city in the ice, built by primordial beings? So-called elder things? How could such things be real? Danforth mumbles something about a nameless black pit as you place Dyer's report back on his desk. The professor gazes at you with sleepless, bloodshot eyes. Well, Dyer asks, will you help us stop this madness? Will you make them see reason? The lead investigator must decide, choose one. I believe you, but if what you say is true, should we not investigate these findings further? Proceed to Prologue 2. I'm sorry, but this seems too wild to be true. Skip to Prologue 3.
Now, if something seems crazy to me, I'd probably want to go investigate it a little bit further. Especially given this world and what we know about it. So, let's go to Prologue 2. If what you say is true, we should investigate it further.
Prologue 2. Dyer lets out an anxious breath and relents. I suppose I might have said the same thing. Once. But now, after what I've seen, a shudder courses through the man's aging body. You're venturing somewhere humanity does not belong. I am starting to believe that scholars such as ourselves can only continue to probe the depths of science for so long before we are laid low by what we find. Or by what finds us, Danforth chimes from behind. Dyer glances at his student, studying his expression, then turns his attention back to you. If you go on this journey with Dr. Kensler, the lot of you may not ever return. Will you not reconsider? You explain that while there is surely significant danger in your expedition, Dr. Amy Kensler, the scientist leading this new trek to Antarctica, has taken precautions to ensure it does not meet the same end as Dyer's. More importantly, it is the only way to understand the threats they encountered, and the only way to prepare if such threats are unearthed by other, less cautious scientists. Yes, I confess I had that same worry, he replies. We are unlikely to convince the greater scientific community, I'm afraid. Perhaps it would be better to return and learn more about what we saw. Danforth nods. I agree. How do we know what we saw is anything more than the overactive imaginings of two explorers with a queer fascination for the bizarre and the macabre? Of Arthur Gordon Pym's ill-fated journeys. Dyer's eyes narrow at his student. The knowledge reflected in his dark eyes chills you to the core. You say such things, and yet I dare say you did not see what I saw. The student scoffs. You are not the one who glimpsed that mirage at the edge of the mountainside. I am not referring to the mirage, Danforth. I am referring to what I saw in you, Dyer retorts. The things you said on the airplane, the look on your face, I'll never forget. Silence pervades the room as Danforth returns to his corner to languish in his own doubt. Dyer pleads with you. Whatever the case may be, is there nothing I can say to deter you? You ponder for a brief moment, then shake your head. There's too much at stake, especially if Dyer's account turns out to be the truth. All right then, Dyer concludes with a sigh. Since you lot have no clue what you are getting into, I suppose we have no choice but to come to. You can tell Dr. Kensler that she wins. We will be ready to leave within the week. You shake his hand and make for the door. I hope, for all our sakes, that Danforth is right, he adds before you are out of earshot. In your campaign log, record, the investigators convinced Dyer to allow the expedition. Add one cultist token to the chaos bag for the remainder of the campaign. Skip to Prologue 4.
I saw you stop in earlier, Christoph. Sorry you got I got a YouTube ban there. I was taking care of everything that Ed was called for in the campaign log as the intro as that part of the intro played. Made a note in the campaign log that we convinced Dyer to allow the expedition and added a cultist to the chaos bag. Now here's where things start to get long. So at this point, we're going to go to prologue 4 next. Here's where things are going to start getting long. And also, I should have mentioned, pay no attention to the scenario as I was setting it up early, as I was clicking it to set it up. I had to do that so I could get the chaos bag all set to go. And it's probably going to look a little bit weird that I'm laying out some of these cards, but it will make sense here momentarily. Okay. So, now let's turn it back over to our voiceless narrator to take it away.
Prologue 4. You peer up at the overcast sky, hoping it does not forebode things to come. Only a sliver of sunlight peeks through the clouds. You shudder and pull your coat closed over your shoulders, then continue onward to the edge of Boston Harbor. Gather each of the cards from the expedition team encounter set. As you read the rest of this prologue and each member of the expedition team is introduced, find the story asset from that encounter set that matches their name and acquaint yourself with that card. Standing in front of the plankway leading up to the deck of the Theodosia is Dr. Amy Kensler, a professor of biology at Miskatonic University. The no-nonsense scientist has been a fixture of the university's sciences department for over a decade. Without so much as peering up from her clipboard, she crosses off your name as you approach. Good of you to make it on time. Mr. Ellsworth will take your luggage aboard.
And as our handsome voiceless narrator suggests, we will go ahead and acquaint ourselves with each of our expedition team members. So we were just introduced to Dr. Amy Kensler, professor of biology. Partner uses 3 secrets. Partner will come into play during the campaign. And actually, let me see if campaign's explained in the campaign guide, since I've got that right here. It's a partner asset that can be put into play. They can't be added to an investigator's deck. Can't leave play unless it's defeated. If it's defeated, remove it from the game. So we'll actually be tracking the health of each of these characters throughout the scenario. So I'll think of some way I can show that on the stream. I'll figure something out. Anyway, reacted on a YouTube post. The rich kid paying a cameraman to film him while he's bothering people on the street. When those people react, shows on. YouTube didn't like the reaction. Weird. Anywho, coming back to Dr. Kensler, uses 3 secrets. As an action, spend a secret and exhaust Dr. Kensler to investigate. Investigate with a base lore skill of 5. If you succeed, look at the top card of any investigator's deck or the encounter deck. You may discard this card. All of this is so fascinating. Do you not agree? 2 health, 4 sanity for Dr. Kensler. Continue, Phoenix from the past.
Oh, I will I? The man standing next to her replies with a chuckle. He offers you his hand in introduction, and you shake it. Rolled Ellsworth at your service.
Let's go find Rolled Ellsworth. Right here. Rolled Ellsworth, Intrepid Explorer. Uses 5 supplies. Fast action, during an investigator's turn, exhaust Rolled Ellsworth and spend 1 supply. Choose a treachery attached to any location. Treat that treachery's text box as if it were blank until the end of this turn. I have been all over the world. Please, just trust me. 4 health, 2 sanity. Continue.
By way of introduction, Dr. Kensler explains, Mr. Ellsworth has been on over a dozen expeditions and comes highly recommended. I'm sure his expertise will be invaluable in the weeks to come. Ellsworth rolls his eyes. His expertise, yes. And his willingness to be used as manual labor, he adds with a chuckle as he hefts your luggage and takes it up the plankway. Come on, Ellsworth, shouts another voice from the inside the ship. A gruff-looking man with a thick brown beard emerges, motioning for Ellsworth to hurry. We got a ton of work to do to get done before we embark. A little busy, Cookie, Ellsworth shouts back in reply. Then he turns back to you and remarks over his shoulder. Don't mind him. Cookie is a bit of an intense fellow, but he's all right. The name's Fredericks, the gruff man barks back. James Fredericks. I swear, sometimes I think I'm the only one here who's ready for this damned trip, he mutters angrily. And who didn't tell you, anyone ever tell you it's bad luck to name a ship after someone who died at sea?
Well, speaking of James Cookie Fredericks, let's go meet him. Dubious choice. Uses 3 ammo. As an action, spend an ammo and exhaust James Cookie Fredericks to fight with a base combat skill of 5. If you succeed and the attacked enemy is non-elite, it can't attack for the remainder of the round. No, I ain't leaving my damn gun back at camp. 5 health, 1 sanity. Continue.
Another voice calls down from the deck of the ship. Cookie, if you could be so kind as to lower your voice, some of us are trying to work up here. The man responds with a grunt and ducks back inside the ship, rolling his eyes. You crane your head upwards and see a young woman leaning over the railing of the ship's deck, her long brown hair tied in a thick ponytail that dangles around her neck. Hey, you made it, she calls out to you. Dr. Kensler was pretty excited that you're coming along. Looking forward to working with you. Without looking from her clipboard, Dr. Kensler mumbles. Miss Takada Hiroko is our aeroplane mechanic. As with the previous expedition, we will be constructing our planes on site. No need to worry. She may be the youngest in her field, but she knows what she's doing.
Well, let's go meet Miss Hirono. Here we go. Takada Hirono, aeroplane mechanic. Uses 9 resources. As an action, exhaust Takada Hiroko. Move up to 3 resources from her to your resource pool. Nobody knows these machines better than I do. 3 and 3.
More of the crew begin to arrive, one by one. The first is a man in his 30s with a wispy blonde beard and bright green eyes. Mr. Avery Claypool. Dr. Kensler introduces you to the man, and the two of you shake hands. Mr. Claypool is an associate of Mr. Ellsworth. He'll be serving as our guide in the Antarctic.
Avery Claypool is right here. Antarctic guide. Uses 5 supplies. As a fast action, when an investigator at your location reveals a frost token during a skill test, that's what that symbol is the frost. Exhaust Avery Claypool and spend 1 supply. Cancel that token and reveal a new one. Weather is turning foul again. I would tell you to turn back, but I gather you would refuse, right? 3 and 3. I'll explain what the frost tokens do in the bag as they become relevant. We'll be adding a lot of them to the bag during this campaign. Continue.
Weather permitting, Claypool jokes. Honestly, we will be lucky if we can even get off the ice shelf. I am confident with your skills we will make it as far as Dyer and Lake did. That is what I am afraid of, Claypool mutters, walking briskly past Kensler and up the plankway. On his way up, he passes Ellsworth, and the two freeze, locking eyes. You could swear that the temperature lowers several degrees as the two brush by one another without a single word. They are usually on better terms, Dr. Kensler says under her breath, but recently fell into some issue or another. They had better learn to live with their differences. They'll be unable to avoid one another for quite some time, after all. You watch as Claypool's gaze wanders back to Ellsworth for just a fraction of a second before he turns away angrily and enters the ship. The next one to arrive is a woman with warm brown skin and weary eyes. Along with her luggage, she carries a rather large, bright red medical kit emblazoned with a white cross. She extends her hand, and you cannot help but notice the nervous tremble in Dr. Kensler's hand as she shakes it. Thank you for joining us on this voyage, Mala. Oh, Amy, someone has to keep you alive, she replies. There is a moment of awkward silence as Dr. Kensler glances up at the woman, then down at her feet, her cheeks tinged red. Right. Well then, she remarks, and continues up the walkway. Dr. Kensler clears her throat once she is out of earshot. Dr. Malasina is our physician, she explains. It took some convincing to get her to join us, so try not to abuse her expertise with inconsequential problems. Frostbite will be a very real concern, as will gangrene and hypothermia. Try to stay on her good side. You're unsure if Dr. Kensler is joking.
Well, let's go meet our physician, Dr. Malasina, daring physician. Uses 3 supplies. Action, spend a supply and exhaust Dr. Malasina. Heal 2 damage from an investigator or another ally asset at your location. Want to survive this trip? Good. Then don't get on my bad side. 4 health, 2 sanity. By the way, you may have also noticed that as I'm going through these assets, I'm flipping them over back face down. There's a reason I'm doing this, but it's going to come into play a little bit later. But for now, Phoenix from the past, continue.
A man's voice pierces the sudden silence, along with the clamor of a dog barking. Anyu! Damn it, Anyu, don't run off like that, he shouts. That will be Mr. Ashabak, Dr. Kensler says, scratching off another name from her list. Moments later, you watch as a large gray-furred dog bounds toward you, its tongue hanging out of its mouth in excitement. You lean over and pet the dog, running your hand along her thick, long fur. The man finally catches up to the dog, huffing with effort. Anu, come on, I thought I trained you better than this, he says, catching his breath. Elia Ashavak is our dog handler, Dr. Kensler interjects. He is in charge of taking care of the 44 sled dogs we are bringing along with us, not to mention their feeding and training.
Let's go meet Elia before we continue. Elia Ashavak, dog handler, uses 3 secrets. As an action, spend a secret and exhaust Elia Ashavak. Evade. Attempt to evade with a base agility skill of 5. If you succeed, you may move to a connecting location. Anu's got the scent. Haven't you, girl? 3 and 3.
Anu here makes 45. He corrects her before turning to shake your hand. Also, we'll be holed up in this ship for a while, so let's drop the formalities. Just Elia is fine. As the man turns and his enormous dog boards the ship, you ask Dr. Kensler if she received the letter you sent regarding Professor Dyer's concerns. I am well aware of his report, Dr. Kensler replies, but as I have told him time and time again, I have no intention of seizing or postponing this expedition. Just then, footsteps approach behind you, interrupting your conversation. Speak of the devil, Dr. Kensler mutters, looking up from her clipboard. You turn to find none other than Dr. William Dyer and his student Danforth, each toting several bags of luggage. I'm glad you finally decided to join us, William. Amy, he acknowledges, I am not here because I believe in your mission statement. I am here to make sure you and your companions don't get themselves killed. You have no idea what you're walking into.
Let's go ahead and meet both of them. Professor William Dyer, Professor of Geology, uses 3 secrets. As an action, spend a secret and exhaust Professor William Dyer to heal 2 horror from an investigator or another ally asset at your location. Doubt of the real facts, as I must reveal them, is inevitable. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. 1 health, 5 sanity. And Danforth, brilliant student. Uses 5 secrets. After an investigator at your location resolves a Tekalili weakness, exhaust Danforth and spend a secret. That investigator draws 2 cards. Danforth was a great reader of bizarre material. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. 2 health, 4 sanity. And actually, as I'm looking ahead, I don't need to be doing this just yet, as far as flipping everybody over back into a stack, as I think I should be able to get at the... I can probably still get at the encounter sets, assuming there's a place for... Actually, it's probably fine if I pull back Ice and Death later. The expedition team should be in there. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I think there's a little bit of intro left, so continue.
Then you have ample enough opportunity to educate us along the way. She turns to address young Danforth, who is staring up at the tanker ship with a pained expression. Danforth, I hope you understand that you are under no obligation to come along on this expedition. After everything you went through... She trails off, her eyes raised in worry atypical of her usual cold demeanor. I appreciate your concern, Dr. Kensler, but I'm looking forward to the opportunity to return to Antarctica. I need to be there again. She follows his gaze to the Theodosia, which bobs steadily up and down on the choppy Atlantic waters. Very well. We are still working to get all of our equipment aboard. Mr. Ellsworth can help you find your rooms. You nod and begin boarding, along with the remaining crew and the rest of the expedition team, mostly students of the university, along with several unaffiliated explorers and several researchers in a variety of fields. Once more you spy the scant sliver of sunlight above before it is smothered by gray clouds. These 9 characters will be your partners throughout the expedition. Their various talents will be crucial in the scenarios to come. However, if you wish for this expedition to be successful, it is imperative that you keep them healthy and sane. In the expedition team section of the campaign log, you can view the status of each member of the expedition team. As they are injured or begin to question their sanity, update the campaign log accordingly. You will be instructed when to do so. As each team member is killed or driven insane, cross them off this list one by one. When you are ready to begin the campaign, proceed to Scenario 1, Ice and Death.
That is where we will be going tomorrow, Sunday, we've got a different game that we're going to tomorrow. Before that, though, we need to turn our attention to the tarot deck here and get our reading for the first scenario. For those of you who have never seen the tarot deck before, I do a balanced reading before every scenario. So I'll flip over 2 cards from the deck. I'll keep one on the good side and flip one to the bad side. So these will be the 2 cards that we'll look at for the scenario. First up, we've got the Hanged Man 13. During setup, each investigator may take up to 2 additional mulligans, or on the bad side, which I can't really show here, each investigator can't mulligan or replace weaknesses in their opening hands, resolve their revelation abilities when the game begins. Or the Sun 19. During each investigator's first turn, they may take 2 additional actions, and during each investigator's first turn, they have 2 fewer actions to take. Ugh, neither of those are good. Neither combination here is good. But I think here, 2 more actions to potentially fix a bad hand, or being able to craft a better hand but only 1 action on the first round. I think I'd rather have the 2 extra actions to fix a bad hand. This way, I can try to draw into more stuff that actually would be usable. So for the good card, we'll take the Sun 19. I'm just making notes here. That is first turn plus 2 actions. And then on the bad side is going to be the Hanged Man 12. Which means we can't mulligan or replace weaknesses. Okay. And then that will do it for this campaign intro. Yes, it's a long one, but there's also a lot going on in the campaign intro. So, as I mentioned, Sunday we will be going to the first scenario of the campaign as we go through Ice and Death. Before that, though, we've got a lot of good stuff coming up on the channel. Tomorrow, we will be going back into my playthrough of 5 Parsecs from Home from Modiphius Entertainment, aka game number 7 on my War Room 10-game challenge list. Thursday, the 1985 World Series and season ticket baseball will be switching over to Olympic Stadium in Montreal, Quebec, Canada for Game 3 of the World Series between the Detroit Tigers and the Montreal Expos. The Expos lead the series 2-0. Walt Terrell is starting for the Tigers, and Dan Schatzeder is going for the Expos. Saturday, Mystical Munchies will start out of the Can You Take the Heat cookbook with the appetizer, Blackjack Lanza's Mandarin Rice and Orange Noodle Salad. Actually, Mandarin Orange and Rice Noodle Salad, I think, is the name of the recipe. And as I mentioned, Sunday will be in the first scenario of the spring campaign with Ice and Death. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care, everyone.